We're live. Hello. Hello, people. I'm Amanda Call, and I'm streaming here on YouTube, actually, on a Tuesday. I am working on my comic, Age of Night. This is chapter 27, page 34. This is like the fifth stream. We've been working on this one. So it's gone from a blank piece of paper to a pretty far along comic page in those times. So we're going to continue inking this evening. I'm going to see how close to done I can get, but this is going to have to be the last stream for this one because it needs to post for my patrons tomorrow. So I got to finish it up off stream either later tonight or tomorrow during the day sometime. So this is going to be whatever we get done tonight is what you're going to get to see. So we're going to continue working on this panel here. I hope everybody has been doing well, has had a good week, had a good weekend. I'm still working on the nib inking. So this is working with pen and ink, with my nib pen and my Royal Talons India ink, which I like for the pens. Here in the Northeast, I did not get as much done as I would have liked this weekend because it was freaking cold. We had a polar vortex event. And the studio is only heated with a heat pump, so if it gets super duper cold out, the heat pump can't really keep up. It does perfectly fine down to like 0 degrees, and then it starts to have a hard time. And we were significantly colder than 0 degrees, so 'twas a problem. But thankfully, we were all fine. We didn't lose power. I spent some of the day on Friday making sure that I had extra insulation around my oil tank so we didn't lose heat. And I made sure that the chickens were nice and tucked away in their coop and it was extra insulated. And I brought some not dangerous heat sources in there a couple of times. It's always tricky with chicken coops because it's so easy to have fires because they're just like full of dust and hay. It's usually a wooden building. Oil tank, is that how you heat? It is. So I live in a very rural area. So we don't have like gas lines or anything. So my house is heated with just an oil burning furnace. That's what I got. Generally, people will usually heat around here with either an oil furnace or if they have like a propane furnace or propane like water boiler type system, then they have to have like a huge propane tank on the outside of their house. It's number 2 heating oil. I don't know what the like technical term is for it. That's just what I tell the heating oil company when I order it. You can get it blended with like kerosene so that it's better in colder temperatures, but it's more expensive that way. So I just try to make sure that my oil tank is well insulated so that I don't have to buy the kerosene blend because that's way more expensive and it also just smells nastier. Not a fan of that. But the regular number 2 heating oil, if it gets too cold out, it will actually like gel up and not be able to move through the through the fuel lines and burn. So when it gets super duper cold, you got to be real careful about it. Yeah, it's one of those things I just never even like realized because I've lived like anytime that I've lived anywhere. Hey, someone's saying, thanks for joining me. You're in Oklahoma, so everything is natural gas. Yeah, yeah, that's one of those things I didn't even like really realize because anytime that I lived anywhere where we had to do a significant amount of winter heating, it's always been in the Northeast, and heating oil is very common up here. But we also don't have like we're not a natural gas producing area, so it makes sense that that's just like what we've had for a long time. Propane, if real rural. Yeah, so I was saying that some people have, yeah, some people do have the propane tanks as well. But that kind of depends on like how old your system is. Hey, TL. Thanks so much. So, chapter 27 is updating in real time online on the website. Every Wednesday, I update a new page. So, this is page 34. Going to go out to patrons later this week, which means it'll be public next week. Um, and then I'm getting real close to being able to release my next physical volume. So, like, every 7 chapters, I release a trade paperback, kind of like a compilation of the last 7 chapters. So at the end of chapter 28, we'll be doing volume 4. So we're so close. It feels like it's taken forever because so many of these chapters have been like super long. Hey, Hungry, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The plan is to have volume 4 out later this year. I have a few other things that I need to get done first. More pressing things that need to be done that are overdue that I need to focus on before I try to knock out volume 4. So I will just keep trucking along at my usual pace on the pages until then, and then hopefully finish my other obligations and be able to pivot to getting volume 4 finished. It's going to be a busy year. Yeah, so it was a cold, crappy weekend, and the kids couldn't go outside like at all, and the dog couldn't go outside like at all because we were having like negative 45-degree wind chills. Like the ambient temperature was in the negative teens for a lot of Saturday and Friday. And overnight the ambient temperature was in like was down to like negative 22, but then we had really high wind gusts, so the wind chill would be like negative 45. So if you had exposed skin, it could like get frostbite in less than 5 minutes. I'm like, "Well, that's fun." So like nobody could go outside, and the kids and the dog were all, like, bouncing off the freaking walls. We were all driving each other nuts because, like, nobody could go outside even for just, like, a walk. Like, Spud says, "I checked out the Patreon finally. The recent page with the wood interior with the barrels was wonderful." Oh, thanks so much. And the crowded street scene. Yeah, those were fun. I had a lot of fun with that. Well, that's right. I need to send you a, message on Patreon with your perks. I'll do that tonight after the stream. Because you do get fun perks for signing up. Hey, Keith. Thanks so much for joining us. Trying very much to finish this as much of this page as I can tonight because this is going to be the last stream for it. It's got to go up on Patreon tomorrow. And I'm going to have to ask my Patreon folks, but I'll ask here too, just to see how people feel about this. So this is the second to last page of this chapter. Okay. There's like a big, like the next page has like a big, oh wow, here's a cool new reveal thing that happens on it. And so normally what I do for the patrons is that they get to see only $2 a month and up patrons get to see pencils before the actual finished pages. So it's usually like either a day or two before or a week or two before, depending on where I'm at in producing pages. Sometimes it's more last minute than others. Um, but when it's like a big reveal like that, I'm like, or it's not like, sometimes a big reveal is something that happens in the text, in the word balloons, and the pencils don't have the word balloons on them. So it's not usually super spoilery to just like show things that happen. But sometimes visually, the thing that you see is the big reveal. And so I'm just like, should I still let the patrons see the very last page of the chapter with the big reveal, or is that like too spoilery? Should I wait? I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Guys, it kind of depends on how people feel about, you know, things being mildly spoilery. I suppose I could always just write in the like header, this is kind of a spoiler. Don't open this Patreon message if you don't want it spoiled. Seems like the easiest answer, yeah. Just be like, be forewarned. Herein are spoilers. Right, yeah. Just spoiler alert. This is the last page of the chapter. You're gonna see something. If you don't want the surprise ruined, don't look. All right, more fun little bits of vegetation here. Personally, I think it's whatever you're most comfortable with. If you want to hold back the big reveal, then do that. If you don't care, then like everyone else said, spoiler alert. A part of me is just like I've been waiting to get to the like I have oh my gosh, I have known that this part of the story was coming for years and years, and it's just like, "Oh my gosh, I'm finally getting to this point. I'm finally gonna get to show things." The problem of working on a comic that updates one page a week. It takes a very long time to get anywhere. Totally understand the anxiety of it all. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, what's the best choice here? So it just builds up these big old wall of rock textures. Like trying to maintain the balance between getting the nice dark tones and textures that I want and not having the whole thing turn into like just an incomprehensible scribble. I don't know, there's not a ton left on this panel, so we might actually get to do at least a little bit of brush inking tonight. That would be fun. Would be nice. Alright, some of these shrubs I'm gonna do with the brush. I'm just gonna leave them be for right now. Oh, and last week's interruption did ultimately pay off. Our friend and my husband managed to get my computer all up to snuff again. That has to be the hardest part of any artist, doing the littlest detail and trying to avoid making it all look like a hot mess. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it's so easy to get sucked into the details, and then you step back and you're like, "Oh, no. What happened?" So you gotta pause and, like, step back every once in a while. So, yeah, I can't explain to you all of the technical things that they did, but they did some things, and now my computer is running much better and making my life much easier. It is no longer randomly freezing and crashing and doing weird things with like lag and weird artifacts on the image that I'm trying to work on in Photoshop and stuff. It's nice. One less thing. Exactly. Yeah, well, he had to call in the big guns for the final fix. Like he did a lot of the stuff, but there was like a he had to, I guess, move Windows over onto a new hard drive, like onto a solid state hard drive. Um, and he wasn't really sure how to do that without accidentally like breaking the whole thing. So uh our friend who actually like works in IT for a living came over and helped with that part. And then my husband did the rest of like the just scooting stuff around and getting it ready to go. But we did call in an actual professional to do some of it. Seems to be common with Windows computers. Well, I guess the thing is that, like, stuff in general just programs in general just keep on getting, like, bigger and requiring a lot more than older computers have to give. So, it was just old. I think someone saying that the issue was just that it was kind of old and it was, still like, a spinning an actual, like, spinning disk, and a lot of the programs are just getting too bloated for it. And so my computer would, like, randomly be locking up, doing basically nothing. And it's not old enough for it to be, like, truly dead, so it was just like, "Okay, we gotta do something here." And now everything's working fabulously. Right. Yeah, I would not know where to begin. I can troubleshoot a certain amount. Like, I'm not very technical, but I can at least, when I run into some basic problems, can work my way around them on a PC. And uh, someone hands me anything Mac, and I'm just like, I don't know what is happening here. I don't even know how to use like an iPhone. Someone hands me an iPhone, and I'm just like, what is this? And they're like, it's so easy. I'm like, for you, I don't know what I'm looking at. TL says, "I haven't used a Windows device in so long, I would feel the same as you do towards a Mac." Yeah, that's just it, is that I just don't have the familiarity. I don't know what I'm doing. I just don't have that, like, the, like, sense of how things are organized and how things are supposed to work. They're just organized differently than they are to anything like PC or Android or anything like that. Had similar issues when I inadvertently hit the hotkeys to record my screen and filled the hard drive up with a day's worth of screensavers. That's amazing. I could totally see myself doing that exact same thing. Ah. Where did this massive video file come from? Oh, it's just the screensaver gallery scrolling through pictures of my cat. Amazing. I've got like this creepy vine curtain going on here. Thanks so much. I'm really pleased with how the penciling came out on this particular panel, so I'm like really anxious that it still stays good throughout the inking. It was one of these rare instances where like exactly the thing in my head is what came out on the paper, and I was like, yes. I couldn't understand why I was having such trouble opening Firefox, looking at the task manager and was like, why is my recorder going? Oh no. Yep. How many volumes are there currently for Age of Night? I've only found 3 on Amazon. That is how many there are so far. So volumes 1 through 3 are going to get you from the very beginning, the prologue in chapter 1 to that to chapter 21. So volume 1 takes you up to chapter 7, volume 2 takes you up to chapter 14, and volume 3 takes you up to chapter 21. And volume 4, which should be out later this year, will go up to chapter 28. Yeah, that's what there is so far. I have 5 volumes planned, which is kind of wild to think about that I'm actually getting close to the end because I've been working on this for like my entire adult life. Which is also very wild to think about. I certainly would not have predicted when I started working on this when I was like 19 that I would still be doing this at 37. Okay, my pen is getting a little gunky, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that. Just dip it in water, give it a quick dry, get some of the gunk out of there. Got a book I'm writing that I've been working on since 2008. Yep. 2008 is when Age of Night first started going live on the internet, but I had been working on it for a little while before that. Been working on the concept and the prologue and the first chapter for like a couple of years before it went live. So before I started actually updating it and making it a thing. Ah, there we go. The creepy curtain of vines opening up. We're gonna have some more vines over here. Just kind of hanging out. And we're also going to have some more rock. Oh, thanks so much. Someone saying says, I wish I could get started on my ideas. I never settle on specific details, so I never get anything down. Yeah, I will say that I didn't have everything like hammered down before I started. I just kind of like got enough to get going and then kind of jumped into it and things kind of formed themselves from there. Like I had a vague idea of beginning, middle, and end. Like I know where I want this to go. I know what my major like ideas are and like broad strokes, but then I kind of let things go and inspire me as I went and kind of form themselves up more as I go. Like there's always been a plan and a goal, but I have not had every little detail figured out along the way until I got closer to them. Make that just a little bit darker through here. Give it a little bit more It looks a little bit less like a smooth surface. Give it a little bit more shading in there so you can get a little bit more of a craggy form there. All right. I think the only thing I have left on this panel for the pen and ink stuff is the ground. That's awesome. So then we can pretty soon we'll be able to do at least a little bit of brush work before the stream ends. Oh yes, that is this area that Balthazar is walking on is where this creature just kind of dissolved into the ground. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I love that you use pen and brush. Some are diehard one way or the other, and I've never understood the point of limiting yourself like that. No, I really love both. I love both, and I feel like I'm better at certain things with one or the other in different scenarios. So I tend to do a lot of this background type work with the pen and ink, and then figures with a brush. Um, and I've mixed it up and I've done other stuff too, but especially on Age of Night, it produces a I keep doing it that way because it produces like a pretty consistent look, even as obviously my art style has matured and changed a bit over the years, but it's just a weird noise outside my door. I don't know whether it was just the cold making like old wood crack on the building or the dog. Could have also been the dog. Just kind of coming up to the door and being like, "Hi guys, what you doing?" Which to be clear, she's not my dog. She's not when I talk about the dog, she's not actually my dog. She's my mother-in-law's dog. My mother-in-law lives next door, and so this dog really wants to be my dog. She constantly hangs around our house, and when my mother-in-law lets her out, she just wanders over and is like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I mean, of I've done a lot of the training, and I walk her pretty much every day and that sort of thing, but she's very convinced that she is also my dog. I'm like, No, go home. You don't live here." But I had to have the dog in at my house this weekend because my mother-in-law was not home, so I was kind of having her over for most of the weekend, even though my cat is not a fan of this situation. Yeah. She's adorable. She's not very smart. What am I looking at? Okay. It took me a second. I was like, "What is going on with what I already inked here?" Okay, okay. I caught up now. This little, like, bit of vegetation that's poking up here made me very confused about what I took me a second to parse what I had going on here visually. It's like, "Oh, yes, rock, rock, shrub, ground." Okay. Only a little bit of muddled mess syndrome is creeping up on you. Yeah. Well, it's also like just the risk you run of when you're like working on things over several sessions. So if you're like halfway through something, it's like, wait, what was I doing? Especially when they're a week apart. I'm just like, what is happening? What was I doing here? What was the plan? I forget what my plan was. Notes are a godsend. Writing ideas down so you know what to do late has saved my bacon many a time. Yes. Yeah, I will sometimes write like a later. Yes, that makes more sense. I will sometimes write like a little note on the in the gutters of like, do this here. Don't forget to come back and do this later. It happens, TL. It's okay. I think we all figured out what you meant. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Look at that. There we go. All right. Okay. So I still haven't decided what I want to do with this panel. If I'm gonna like do anything in the background here. I gotta think about it still. But we're gonna go ahead and start doing some brush inking. We've got like 20 minutes left. So I'm gonna quickly clean off my pen here. Then we're gonna switch over to brush. Ugh, thanks so much. I'm very pleased with how this page is coming along, even if it is taking a very long time. Uh, all right, so now we're switching over to the brush, which means we're also going to switch over to the Winsor and Newton Black Indian ink, the one with the spider on the bottle. For the nib pen, I was using my Royal Talons India ink. This one flows a little bit better for pens, but it's not quite as dark. I like the darker, more viscous ink for the brush. It's got better control and it sits better. Whereas the other stuff, the Royal Talons flows better through a pen. The Winsor Newton is just a little on the sticky side for a pen. You tend to have to clean it a lot more frequently and it gets gummed up more frequently. So I've got my brush. I just hit the side of my ink bottle with my hand. Good job. We're off to a great start there. Ugh. Okay, we'll clean that up. Get my brush a little bit wet and then dry it off and then dip it in the ink. I've got my page of scribbles over here so that after I load my brush up, I can kind of work on honing the point down a little bit. And then we're going to start in. Whoops, it would help if I was actually in in frame. I have to start with the thumb. Yep, I gotta start with getting ink all over myself before I do anything else. Oh yeah, sure, sure, Baldstar. You're looking very, very stable here. Very much like anyone should be listening to you. Absolutely the expression of someone who is doing fine. Whoop, get back here, you. little more ink on there. When I first start out with the brush, I have to load up actually a little bit more frequently until there's like a nice like reservoir kind of built up in there. Love the way you do hair with a brush. Thanks. I have a lot of fun doing hair and trying to keep it looking realistic. I got to get his little goatee in there. Oh, bless you. I don't know if you all could hear that, but my husband sneezed. That's the look I make when telling someone their french fries are safe with me. Precisely. That is precisely that look. Ha 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 ha. Yes. Nothing to fear. Oh no, go right ahead. I appreciate that you get what this. That was a super hard sneeze, no doubt. Yeah, he just does the dad sneezes. No matter the actual severity of the sneeze, it is always like a sonic boom. All right, where do I want to start so that I don't end up dragging my hand through everything? Hmm? Has our mind. Does he talk loud too? Sometimes. He's a high school teacher, so sometimes he starts talking and I'm like, "You're not in a classroom. You can tone it back. You do not need to project to the back wall. I'm sitting right next to you." Like, you do not have to yell. I am not a 15-year-old who is falling asleep. Like, I'm barrel chested, so everything I do comes out loud. wife is constantly on you about toning yourself down. Yeah, I could definitely see how that would be a challenge. He can be pretty loud, and then the kids are, like, always loud because 'cause they're children, and they just get excited, and then they're, like, suddenly yelling. It's like, "Why are we yelling? We're all right here. You don't need to yell. It's okay." Do another little wave right there. More ink. Gee, I wonder why I go through so much ink. Notice your pages don't have any bleed rules. Do you scan and transfer the pages to something with them when you do print runs, or are they not really needed? Yes. So that's so usually, if you see a page like this where everything has the box around it, then it's just gonna be within the regular, like, live area. Those are all in the 10 by 15, and so it's not something I really have to worry about. Sometimes I do bleed pages, and then I have to kind of futz with them on the computer to get them to fit when I go to print, which is one thing that, like, it's one of those things when I picked the actual, like, format for the, printed books many years ago now, I could have picked a better size than I did. So sometimes the pages fit like, the bleeds fit a little bit awkwardly, um, because I just wasn't really was not experienced when I did my first book, and then I'm also kind of locked into this situation of, like, I don't want volumes 1 and 2 to be one size and the rest of them to be a different size. So some of the pages that have, like, a bleed on them look a little bit not exactly as nice as I would like them to. I won't say bad, I definitely try to make sure they still look good, but they could look better. We'll go with that. And it's kind of one of those things that eventually I wanna go through and, when it's done, re-release everything in a different format that suits the pages a little bit better, where I won't have any of the weird issues with the bleed, and just a little bit bigger. I was very, very nervous, especially starting out to keep the about keeping the books affordable. 'Cause I was very much in that, like, "Oh, if I charge too much, nobody will buy them," type mindset, and I've kind of grown past that a little bit. I was like, "This is how much my work is. Buy it or don't." Like, not to say that I'm, like, gonna intentionally charge exorbitant prices on anything, but I also understand the value of not underselling myself either, so I am gonna eventually like, the long-term plan is to eventually do everything in a different form factor and, like, re-release everything in a slightly larger format, but that's probably not gonna be for many, many years. 'Cause there's the part of me that's just like, it just feels silly to release them, like, half in one format and half in a different, and so I want them to all be available in a smaller, more affordable format, and then, like, somewhere down the road, release, like, slightly larger, nicer editions. The deluxe edition, I guess you could say. Alright, yay! There's Baltazar looking all crazed. Oh my gosh, it's almost time. Alright, I got so involved in inking his luxurious hair, I didn't see what time it was, so I'm gonna work on this panel a little bit. Do color comics or to keep them black and white? Age of Night is black and white. I do have a color comic project I am currently working on. It's called I Am the First. That is a superhero comic that I am working on with my friend Remy Flag. Remy is writing it and I am drawing it. We did a Kickstarter for it last year. The first 3 chapters of it are available. First 3 issues are available on on Amazon, on Drive Through Comics, on a bunch of different places. Yeah, Age of Night is all black and white. But yeah, we were supposed to have finished I Am the First, like, by the end of last year, and we did not, so I'm trying to finish it now. But we're almost at the end of our hour, so I'm just gonna quickly remind everybody of the YouTube things. I'm Amanda Call. This is my comic, Age of Night. You should check it out at ageofnight.com. That's AGEOFNIGHT.com. I update a new page every Wednesday. The whole thing is available for free to read on the website, but if you would like to help support me, you can buy physical copies of the first 3 volumes of the book on Amazon. You can buy electronic versions that have, like, bonus content in them on Skirmisher Publishing's website, so that's skirmisher.com, on the One Bookshelf sites, Drive Through RPG, Drive Through Fiction, and Drive Through Comics. And you can support me on Patreon if you'd like to. Patrons get to see all the comic pages a week early, plus other cool behind the scenes stuff. And yeah, it's also just really helpful and I appreciate it a whole bunch. And depending on your level, you get other fun, cool perks throughout the year. And if you want to follow me on social media, on most social media platforms, you can find me as either Amanda Call Art or Age of Night, spelled just like the comic. I do these live art streams on YouTube pretty much every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So you should subscribe to the channel so that you're notified when I go live or get a notice if I'm like sick or whatever and can't make it. So I think that is going to do it for this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I do not have Mastodon. I have not made the jump to that one yet. I am intimidated by all these new platforms. I'll probably check it out eventually, but no, I do not yet have Mastodon. If someone wants to explain it to me, that'd be great. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me this evening. I will see you next time. Bye.